Hi, welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about negative automatic thoughts. And this is something I get asked a lot as a psychologist. Why do I constantly have this barrage of negative thoughts, of self-criticism, beating myself up, and I just can't seem to help it? Well, the thing about negative automatic thoughts is that's just what they are. They're negative and they're automatic. So when we're having these thoughts, quite often they come outside of our awareness. We just know that we are feeling something in our body and we're reacting to them. So they are very negative because we're not going to be disturbed by lovely thoughts or by nice, positive, charming thoughts that we're thinking good things about ourselves. We only seem to be disturbed by the negative stuff. And this, as I said, happens almost automatically outside of our awareness. So the negative thoughts, you've got this barrage abuse. Why am I so stupid? Why am I hopeless? Why didn't that work? Why don't other people like me? Why am I not good enough? And a lot of the time, this is happening, as I said, outside of your awareness almost. But you know that something's going on because you feel so bad and you want to avoid the situation. They are automatic. They just turn up. We can't seem to switch them off. We can't seem to do anything about them. We're not inviting them. We're not asking for them. In they come. They just turn up in certain situations. And you will find that there'll be particular situations where these thoughts just turn up and disturb you. But the thing about them is that they're kind of slightly believable. We can almost believe that they're true. There is maybe a grain of truth in it. Maybe it was something that happened many years ago and we're still feeling, we still have feelings around that. So it just triggers something in our body, but we slightly believe it. There's a grain of truth there. I'm not good enough. Well, in some things, maybe I'm not good enough, but most of the time that's not, then you're globalizing that as all of me is not good enough. I'm just not a good enough person. Perhaps you weren't good enough to get over the such and such a high jump. I'm very short, so I certainly wouldn't be good enough to do that. But it doesn't say anything about me as a person. It says something about my height, which I had no control over and nothing to do with me. Other thing you find about these thoughts, these negative automatic thoughts, is they're very biased, and there's a lot of distortions in there. They are biased against us. They're not actually working for us, and the biases which they come with don't necessarily help you. For example, like I said, you're globalizing something, you're personalizing it, you're thinking in black and white thinking, so everything's very dichotomous. So either I'm a success or I'm a failure. There are no shades of gray there. These thoughts are incredibly biased, and they really upset us and disturb us. So what can we do about these thoughts? Well, in order to actually start dealing with these thoughts, because they are so automatic, we actually have to kind of almost start to find a way to catch them. And this can be quite problematic as they're very fleeting. They just woof in they come with all these biases. They're kind of believable. And we don't even know exactly what it is they're saying to us. We just feel it in our body. So that is a good thing to use, is what's going on in your body. If your body feels anxious, if your kind of threat system's triggered, you know at that point something is happening, something's going on in your head. So to stop and think, okay, what was just going through my mind just then? What just happened? And what was I thinking? And actually to start writing some of these thoughts down, because the only way to tackle them and to challenge them to see if there is any truth in it and to dispel them is to write them down, to know what it is we're dealing with. We can then look back and think, well, where did they come from? Why would I be thinking that? Can I trace this back to my childhood, to school? Was it something teachers said to me? Was I bullied? Was it something the bully said? So that's kind of going on in my brain. This inner critic is just nagging at me. It may come also in the form of images or pictures. Some people think like that. They don't necessarily think in words, they'll think in pictures. So think, are there any images associated with this? Is anything, can I see myself doing something? Like often I get people say to me in my clinic, that they're worrying about losing their job, or if they speak up to their boss, they'll lose their job. And they have this barrage of images of them with their little suitcase on a train, going back to their hometown, going back to mum. And that they feel a complete failure because they failed at what it was they wanted to do. They've lost their job and they're now homeless with a suitcase. And that's a very powerful image. And you can imagine how disturbing that will be. And that is the thing you need to ask yourself when you start recording these images. What and these images and thoughts, what does it mean to me? Because if there is no meaning there, it's not going to disturb you, because we're not disturbed by the thought itself, but by the meaning of it. Like, if I lose my job, it means I'm a complete failure and I'm going to have to go and live back at home. Everybody will know, they'll all be talking about me, they will be saying what a terrible person I am, that I couldn't even hold down a job, etc. And yet you've got no evidence that any of the things that you are thinking are actually true. So that's just a little tip. I've got other videos on how to sort of, like, the cognitive distortions that we go through, like those biases that we feel and we think and apply to the thoughts that we're having, and how they kind of get in our way as well. So check out some of my other videos. So that's how to become aware of your automatic thoughts. Remember, they're negative, automatic, they're believable, but they're biased. They're very, very biased against you. So start writing them down. And it can be, I know, quite painful sometimes to write down lots of negative things about yourself. But remember, just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. So please check out some of my other videos. I've put my website in the description below. Go on to www.transformyourmindset.co.uk, and I've got so I'll be putting up some blog posts and other videos, and I've got my free thing coming very soon, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.